This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal, and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened.
The Lawyers Committee has an incredible background.
A great and thoughtful lawyer facing the headlines about rejections of the rule of law in the early 1960s asked the question, where are the lawyers? And that prompted a historic meeting at the White House where President Kennedy asked the lawyers of the great firms of the United States to answer that question.
It was an incredible meeting, very contentious, but out of that meeting was founded the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law.
There wasn't another organization like it, and I don't think there still is.
My great uncle was very active and engaged in the civil rights movement. He was very much involved with President Kennedy's campaign, so that is also something that makes me feel another sense of connection with this organization that also makes me proud to serve on its board.
We are both a local and a national voice. Many of the cases that we take on are referred to us by local lawyers committees.
It just has accomplished so much and has been instrumental in furthering and advancing the cause of civil rights over the past 45 years.
In 2000, our phone system totally crashed because we're getting thousands of people calling and faxing that there's a tragedy happening in Florida and that black people aren't being allowed to vote. I sat down with the staff, started looking at the complaints, and said, we're gonna go to Miami, we're flying in tonight. The 1-866-R-VOTE hotline was created there.
The election protection program is now truly nationwide, involves thousands and thousands of volunteers, and has a big impact on making sure that voters' rights are protected. The reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act is something that is key.
The Lawyers Committee, by holding hearings around the country on voting issues, was very much involved in having that law passed.
We've been having family reunions. We started back in the 80s, and we do them every couple of years. We put out a survey. The majority voted that we needed to do a beach reunion. I had been visiting Myrtle Beach for approximately 15 years, and during that time, I've stayed at the same location. So we decided, we did a contract, and there were a total of 117 people involved in this reunion. After being there the first day, we encountered the problem with the swimming pool being locked. On the next day, one of the units that my daughter was in, the resident came home that lived next door, and she had a note that was sent out, and it identified a black family from Maryland, and they were not to use the swimming pool. I ended up staying an additional day, and the minute everyone had left, the pool was unlocked. I even witnessed new people checking in some of the same units that we had stayed in, and the property manager personally went over and invited them to the swimming pool. And of course, these were white people. We just wanted an injustice to be corrected.
And we brought suit in South Carolina, were able to get a successful settlement representing the family.
The Lawyers Committee is needed because there are people still suffering from injustices.
Conditions still persist today, many decades after the Brown versus Board of Education.
We will need the Lawyers Committee for a long time. We need them as monitors and public policy advocates, for education particularly.
The Educational Opportunities Project has been actively involved in the Seattle and the Louisville case.
We believe very strongly that parents are key to a child's education, so we have a huge parental empowerment program.
From education, opportunity follows employment opportunity.
In one of our cases, the Tyson Foods case, African American workers were told that a new bathroom that was being built was for whites only. And this was not in 1940, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. We're talking about 2003. We were able to win this case because the company finally, after fighting the case vigorously, finally settled it. Who would have thought that a tragedy of that nature would, in fact, be so dominant in our culture at that time, and that issues of race and poverty would just explode in a horrible way.
That region was some of the poorest region in our country before the hurricane, and so it brought to light a lot of these issues that have needed to be addressed for a long time.
Our ability to mobilize law firms to file a suit against FEMA, to help communities to figure out ways to appeal bad decisions, to open up the ability of people to have somewhere to live, to stay in a hotel, all of these things that we had to fight and do.
We had to move much deeper into the field of environmental protection that had largely been for some of the traditional environmental organizations and put the face of racial discrimination on environmental injustice.
We also have an incredible project called the Community Development Project. We've been able to build factories, build modular housing in the devastated areas of the Gulf Coast that were devastated by Hurricanes Katrina and Rita.
I would like to think that there will be a day when there's not a need for the Lawyers Committee.
There is a great distance yet to travel.
I think there will be many other new avenues, such as our work on the foreclosure crisis with the subprime lending, etc.
We're in a time where the government has not been as vigorous as it should be in enforcing the nation's civil rights laws.
As John Lewis says, it's important to put yourself in the way of trouble.
The Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law is the gold standard for being active in civil rights issues if you are a lawyer.
I think if John F. Kennedy were alive, he would be proud of the many lawyers and law firms and of the staff and of the clients who have taken the questions that he asked about where the lawyers were.
As long as injustice is in our society, we will be there, and we will continue to call upon all of our massive resources to make good happen.